Hey y'all, now that the first very short season of SWV and Escape, the Queens of R&B has wrapped, let's talk about the main highlight point from the show, which is the two sisters from Escape, Tasha and Tameka. And one thing that this reality show has definitely shown is put a lens on how generational trauma continues on, generational toxic behavior, generational bad communication. It just continues on, starting for the mom, going to the sisters with each other, and hopefully not so bad with their kids, but based on how they are and how deep they are still in such toxic stuff and not even recognizing that it's toxic. Yeah, it's probably still going on for sure. um and so let's focus on Tasha and Tameka and how I hope and pray that Tameka watches back on this season and sees her sister and how she's behaved and her confessionals and how she's talked about her and all that and how she needs to just safely distance herself from her sister. Like, let's be honest. You can still love your family, but sometimes you have to love them from afar, right? And I think that's exactly what Tameka needs to do so that she can work on herself, so that she can heal herself, and so that she can show herself some love. Okay, because loving yourself sometimes looks like not allowing yourself to be the punching bag for somebody else. All right, so let's get into it. So let's get into this final episode. So it picks up right where they left off last time, where all the escape girls are confronting Tasha about her husband getting the kickbacks. And they literally have printed receipts, okay? Printed stuff of the text messages between the promoter and Rocky in clear language about Rocky getting extra money and how he needs to make sure that the rest of the girls are on board to go to whatever clubs they have picked out. And it's clearly stating how Tasha is in on it and how Rocky is letting her know and that, she's agreeing with everything and all that sort of stuff. So of course, Tasha does her classic, song and dance of, huh, who, what, not me, not my husband, not my man, sort of stuff. And it's like, girl, it's his number. We know the promoter too. Like, so she's in denial city, but everybody else knows what's up at this point. And, of course, you can see that the conversation is going nowhere. She's just like, oh, we'll talk about it. And, leave it off like it's not my husband sort of stuff. But come on. At this point, you know, not only has Tasha done things to her own blood sister, but she and her husband are doing shady stuff to the whole group. You know what I mean? And so in my opinion, they'd be quite stupid to continue to work with her. You know what I mean? Like cut her out, pay her out. I don't know what the contract looks like for them all being in a group together, but she's more headache than it's worth, in my opinion. Sometimes that's how it is in business. Like you find out that somebody who, there just isn't meshing well with the rest of the group. They're holding everybody else back, and you can wish well for them. You cannot hate them, but shoot, that doesn't mean you have to stay in business with somebody if they're constantly giving you a headache or tearing you down all the time, or you got to watch your pocketbook every 5 seconds to make sure they're not throwing you under the bus or stealing from you. Like, come on, do not go into business with people like this. You know what I mean? Like there are horror stories about people like Tasha and her husband for new people who want to get into the business. You stay away from those type of people. So, I hope after this show is over with, going forward that Escape will just be a 3 girl member group, or they can replace it if they want to. But like, yeah, she doesn't appreciate them. It's obvious. She only uses them whenever she wants to have like a solo deal coming up, and yeah, she thinks they're all stupid. So they don't need her, and because she act like she doesn't need them for sure. So what can you do? So the rest of the episode, they kind of fast forward through, and getting ready for the final for this show that they're gonna do in 2 weeks. Which, come on, ladies, y'all should have known by now. Doing a show in 2 weeks worth of time of rehearsals and this and that. yeah, it was not going to go off as seamless as it could have been. So we see them, going through a couple of rehearsals, having little hiccups, between the transitions between SWV songs and escape songs, and you know, they finally resolved who's going to do the last song and all that sort of stuff. And they agreed to do a song all together. Of course, Coco was like, "Not I. I'm not nobody's backup singer at all." And I feel her on that. And so they get it together, and it's time for the show. Of course, in true classic fashion, Tasha shows up with a full entourage. Like, girl, you are not that famous or a high priority of an artist to be having a full fledged team of an entourage for you while everybody else in your group has the bare minimum. Like, no, 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 sis. Get your heads out the clouds, please. But I'm pretty sure she did that because Rocky, wanted to fluff her up a little bit and, make themselves seem more important than everybody else. Like I can see straight through them. Okay. But anyway, so, she shows up. Um, Poor Tameka, she's like, she spends some time thinking, like maybe she regrets, bringing up the whole text messages stuff with everybody else in the group. But no, she should have definitely done it in front of everybody else because it involves everybody else. As a group, she did something shady towards the whole group. You know what I mean? So she had every right to bring it up in front of everybody. Um, then Tameka and Candy are chatting backstage for a little bit, and they're talking about how she's gonna, talk with Tasha after the concert is over with because she wants to make sure she doesn't ruin the experience, which I'm glad she did because she would have ruined the experience for everybody else. Okay, everyone who would have bought a ticket would have been mad about that. Um, so thankfully she does that. The concert goes off pretty well. They've seen all the classic hits. People are loving them. People are loving the songs and the orders and stuff like that. Everyone is loving the concert, the songs that they're doing. And you know what? I hate to say it. SWV was right. People were more hyped for a week than they were for Understanding. But, overall, still good. Both are classic groups with classic songs. I'm loving it. Audience loved it. Whew, if only they knew about the drama behind the scenes. So at the end, Tameka pulls Tasha to the side back into one of the dressing rooms, and she has a chat with her, and just talking about how she feels bad about how the relationship is at the moment, and trying to repair it, and you can tell that Tameka's being genuine, that she really wants her sisterhood, and wishes that they could be close again and this and that. But in all honesty, I don't think she was ever as close as she thinks that she was, in her mind. I feel like Tasha was only nice to her when Tasha needed something from her, you know, classic manipulator, classic user, all that sort of stuff. And you could tell because when she's talking to her, Tasha then goes into a whole spiel about how she feels like Tameka is jealous of her and her husband, and jealous that her husband is taking away her time, and feeling left out, and blah blah blah, and this and that. And she's always saying that Tameka has problems and issues, and pretty much pointing all the fingers at Tameka without and taking zero accountability for her actions, taking zero accountability for her husband's actions or what she allows her husband to do and this and that. So it's pretty sad. And I do hope that now that everything was filmed, Tameka can see for herself, because sometimes it does take some retrospect. It does take, somebody else telling you from the outside in, sis, you're being used. You know what I mean? Like, this is not healthy. This is not right. And so hopefully from this, Tameka can see that number one, she needs her own individual therapy. She needs her own individual mental wellness because dealing with people who are manipulators and drainers, man, it really takes up your energy. It takes up your spirit. She sucks the life out of her. Her mom sucks the life out of her. You know what I mean? Having to constantly try and get your mom's approval and constantly try to get your mom to love you and, acknowledge you over your sister, when your sister could do anything and get all her mom attention, that really messes up with a person's psyche. You know what I mean? And so as a fan of Escape, as a fan of the girls and the show and things like that, I'm definitely rooting for Tameka's wellness. I hope you all are too, and I hope that, you know, even Tasha can get some redemption here. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people like to say, that Tasha's being used and manipulated by her husband, which I'm pretty sure she is a little bit, but she has to take some responsibility for what she's doing too. You know what I mean? Tasha is a grown adult woman, and she chose Rocky as her husband. She chose to stay in in that marriage. She chose to, to continue to allow him to have as much control as he does have. I'm pretty sure it didn't start out on 100 when they first met. He built that up throughout the years for sure. So yeah, I'm praying for her for that as well. Hopefully one day they can have that sisterhood that Tameka is looking for. It's just not right now at this moment. Let's be honest. It's not right now at this moment. Um, Sometimes people have to learn by following their own faces. Tameka needs to stop being there to pick up the pieces every 5 minutes. You know, Tasha needs to learn how to fall on her face, and then maybe she'll appreciate her sister more. You know. That's just my personal opinion. And from me dealing with my own types of family and friends that are just like Tasha. So let me know what you all think about the show, what you think about the groups, and what you think about the sisterly dynamic here. But yeah, I just thought it was a classic example of toxicity in many families. We find ourselves either in Tameka's position where we're having to constantly vie for our parents' love and attention because they only show certain siblings all the attention versus the other one. You can't seem to do anything right, but somebody else can, sneeze and they're, being perfect. You know what I mean? Um, Sometimes we find ourselves in Tasha's situations where you may not ask for it, but your parent is showing you all the favoritism. You know what I mean? Which can mess with you too when you start to realize and recognize that, okay, like you're not purposely doing anything on purpose and you can't control your parents, but they still treat you differently and quote unquote special. And then you have all this pressure to be the perfect child or to be the one to bring the millions to the family or be the one to take your family out of the hood or out of an impoverished area, whatever like that, because they put so much pressure on you and your talent and your skill versus believing in all of the kids. um Sometimes you might find yourself in maybe the mom's position where you find yourself being a single parent and you're struggling and this and that and you're pouring so much into your kids that you know you might end up forgetting to like treat your kids like human beings too. You know what I mean? You're putting so much pressure on them to fulfill and you're so hurt from the breakup with the ex that you're taking it out on your kids. Are you doing that unconsciously, subconsciously? Are you, taking stuff out on your kids that you shouldn't be? So hopefully this sort of dynamic gives us all a perspective to sort of reflect on and learn from a little bit and kind of take a look at our own lives and our own family for a second. All right, have a good one, guys.